Hey guys, so I promised you this weekend that I would make a video talking about our next topic, and that's going to be the heart. So the heart looks very, very intimidating and very hard to understand, but you will find that when you sit down with it and take some time to understand it, it's really not all that bad. I remember when I was in college, I was like, oh gosh, the heart, I don't want to learn about the heart. I remember it being really confusing and had a lot of funky names that I was like, I'll never be able to remember these names and the pathway and the flow. But I'm lucky because I have the smartest middle schoolers in the state of Texas, so there we go. Okay, and I just want to add this in, hang in there. We're almost done. It's April now, so it's the home stretch. So let's do this. Let's finish strong. We're going to talk about the heart this week. Then we're going to talk about the respiratory system, and then we're going to go into genetics and adaptations, and then that'll be pretty much it. So we can do this. We can do it. All right. So first off, a lot of people in general, not just kids, but people, they don't understand that the heart has so many compartments in it, just like you're seeing here. They think it's just one hollow organ that just holds blood, okay? They don't really understand the purpose of it. And, the purpose of it is to serve as a pump, okay? What it does is it pumps blood with oxygen to all of our body because we need oxygen to live. That's why whenever you don't have a heart or it stops functioning, you're gone, because you need oxygen in all of your tissues and all of your organs and in all of your body in order to survive. Okay, so that's why any kind of disease dealing with the heart is very dangerous, because we need oxygen to live. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over what we're going to talk about tomorrow so you can get a head start. So I'm going to go over the path of the flow of blood in the heart. Okay, so I think the part that I really didn't understand, I always understood all of this right here, but I didn't really understand all of these things, like these branchy things. Those are arteries and veins, okay? So blood that doesn't have any oxygen, that needs some more, okay, is gonna go into the superior vena cava, which is up here, and inside of the inferior vena cava. So deoxygenated blood without oxygen, from the lower half of the body is going to go into the inferior vena cava. That's why it's at the bottom. So all of the blood from the bottom of our body. All of the blood that doesn't have oxygen from the top half of our body that needs oxygen is going to go into the superior vena cava, which is up here. So that's the first part I really didn't understand. Okay, so it's going to go into these two things. Then after they go into those things, they're going to collect here in this atrium. It's called the atrium, right atrium. So all the blood that doesn't have oxygen is going to collect right here. This atrium is going to contract and be pushed into this through this valve right here. This is called the tricuspid valve. The reason it's called tricuspid is because in better pictures you can tell that it has three little cusps right here. So tri means three, cuspid. So this is going to contract, the blood's going to go through here and collect in this area right here, and that's called the right ventricle. All right, ventricle. So from there, the right ventricle is going to contract, and that blood that doesn't have oxygen is going to be pushed into this valve right here. All right, and this is called the pulmonary valve. Anytime you see the word pulmonary, think of lungs. That means something has to do with the lungs. That's what the word pulmonary means. Like a pulmonologist is a lung doctor. So the blood without oxygen is going to go into the right ventricle. The right ventricle is going to contract and push that blood up through the pulmonary valve. Okay, and from there, it's going to go into the pulmonary artery. And the pulmonary artery leads to our lungs. So the purpose of our lungs is to give us oxygen and get rid of that carbon dioxide that we don't need. Remember, that's a waste product that we produce, or a byproduct. And we talked about that a little bit with the excretory system. Okay, so it's going to go into the lungs from the pulmonary artery to get oxygen. All right, and from there, once it gets oxygen, it's going to go into the pulmonary vein. So now we have oxygen, and that's the stuff that we want. And it's going to go into the heart, into the pulmonary veins. All right, so from there, it's going to go into the left atrium. So you have a right atrium, and a left atrium. The left atrium is going to contract, and the oxygenated blood, the blood with oxygen, is going to go through the mitral or the bicuspid valve. So you have a bicuspid valve and a tricuspid valve, but we call this the mitral valve. It's going to go through there and go into the left ventricle. So you have a right ventricle and a left ventricle. Okay, the reason the wall of this heart, this left ventricle over here, is so thick is because it has to be strong enough to push blood to the entire body from the left ventricle. So it has to be super strong. I don't know if you remember, whenever we brought in the heart, I think it was a cow heart, I let y'all feel of it to feel how thick it was, and no matter how hard you pushed on this area right here of the cow heart, it wouldn't even make a dent in it. And that's because that tissue has to be strong enough to push the blood. That way it doesn't rupture or explode from the pressure. All right, so the oxygenated blood, or the blood with oxygen, is then going to go through the aortic valve. And this is called the aortic valve. And from there, it's going to go into the aorta, which is here with oxygen, and the aorta is going to carry the blood with oxygen to the rest of the body. So this is the biggest artery in our whole body. It's called the aorta, and it's going to lead to our arms and our neck. All right, so all the blood with oxygen is going to go from the aorta to the rest of the body. So it has to be a super strong artery to make sure it can handle all of that blood passing through it. Okay, and then from there, our body has oxygen again, and so after that exchange, the whole process starts over. So when the blood loses oxygen from the body, it's going to go back through the superior vena cava, back through the inferior vena cava, right atrium, and so on and so forth, and it's going to start all over again. So that's basically the heart, and that's the major parts that I'm expecting you to know. And I know it seems overwhelming now, but it's really not that hard of a concept once you have all of the names down. And I'm going to give you all a chance to do this in class tomorrow, and I'm going to go over it again, but I want you to have this to refer to. So remember, the purpose of the heart is to act as a pump to make sure our blood has oxygen and that all of our tissues are oxygenated so we can live. All right, thank you.